Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I got a new watercolor set in the mail from Woomer, and I got I believe, I haven't even opened it yet, so let's just do that together. I'm really excited about this. This is 24 colors. And it looks like it's going to have, it's got pigment and light fast information. And Woomer is a company that is online. It's woomerart.com. And I've looked, they've got colored pencils, they've got acrylic markers and watercolors that I've noticed so far that I would be interested in. So let's just open this, and you're going to get my first impressions and a bit of a review. So far I love the color of the tin. It's like this dusty green, and there's some cool artwork on here. Picture of a cat. Woomer 24 colors paint set. The packaging gives the colors. It's got lemon yellow, permanent yellow, golden, orange yellow, mandarin red, scarlet, strontium red, magenta, purple red, violet, quinacridone violet, violet, lotus, lake blue, aqua blue, ultramarine, phthalo blue, grass green, verdant, emerald, phthalo green, ochre, reddish brown, brown, and black. And it has the light fastness on here, and it does have the opaque, whether it's opaque, semi-transparent, semi-opaque, and transparent. So I'll show you those up close real quick. If it will focus, you can take a screenshot of that. And I believe you can find it on woomerart.com. So my first impression on the case is I love the case. I love the case because of the color. It feels quality so far. We'll swatch these out and paint a little picture. Got a cool thank you note. And they did give me a code. And I will link that in the description below and on the screen. And that will give you, I believe, 10% off. So this is cool. It looks like this paper is, I don't know if it's cellulose or cotton. It doesn't really say on the packaging. We'll try it. Feels like cotton. Definitely feels like cotton. Okay, so these colors look like your typical watercolor set. So the only thing I noticing right away is there is no white. Now a lot of people do not care if they have a white, because they use the paper as their white. Now, I like a white because I like making pastels and mixing with white, but that's not for everyone. So we're gonna try it. I'm gonna just try a couple colors to see if, I think the build and the quality of the palette is very quality. And these come out as typically. They're shaky a little bit, but you can tighten these and tighten them up. And the way you do that is you take it out and then push it back in a little bit more than it was, and then you snap it back in there. Snap it, snap it, snap it. There you go. Did you hear that? and now it's secure. So I'll do that again. Take it out, push it in, and then snap it back in. Well, that's still moving, so I didn't get it enough. So let's push it in a little bit more, and then snap it. Well, okay, so it proved me wrong. So I'm going to put that back in here. And just as a test, I'm going to see how, I'm not going to spray them. It is a good idea to spray if you want more saturated color. However, I'm not going to spray them just to see how they pick up out of the pan. Looks like a good pickup. Yeah. So here's lemon yellow. I'm going to take it, they're in the right order. I'm just going to assume. And this would be permanent yellow, which is a warmer yellow. They are nice. I'm going to get me a Kleenex so I can wipe my brush. So far, so good. This one is golden. Just right from the pan. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. Right from the pan, I'm getting a good vibe. Golden. So if you sprayed them down, you could get more saturated color. This one's orange yellow. Very nice. Very nice. This one, mandarin red. We'll do some mixing. And this one is scarlet. So far, I'm getting a good vibe from these. Kind of reminding me, I don't know. We'll do a test on them to see how well they flow. This one is strontium red. Oh, I like these. So far, so good. This one is magenta. Nice magenta. Very transparent. Next one is purple red. Lovely, lovely. Quinacridone violet. I'm not too sure about the pigment numbers. Some of them I am not familiar with. So that may be one thing. So I'll go over them when I get them all swatched out. The pigment numbers, I'm not familiar with a lot of them. Like that quinacridone violet is PV1-6 or 0.6. Not familiar with that. Okay, the next one's violet, and it's PV1, PV23.6. They're lovely colors. Oh, maybe that 6 is the light fastness. Okay, yeah, I bet you it is. Because up here, the lemon yellow, PY3, and then 7. So that's good light fastness. Oh, okay. So PY14 is a 7 for permanent yellow. And it also gives the opaque on the swatch chart, whether it's semi-transparent or transparent with a a circle with nothing in it and a line through it means it's semi-transparent. Okay, so PY83 is a 7. PO13, I'm not familiar with, is a 7. PO13 and PR21 is a 7. So all these seem to say good light fastness. PR21 is an 8. I'm going to have to look up these pigment numbers. So we'll get these swatched out and I'll take a look. Alright, so now I've got Lotus PV23, which is a pretty purple. Kind of reminds me of dioxazine purple, however not as strong of a tinting strength. Now this next one is Lake Blue. Now I'm taking these dry right off of the palette. I did not pre-wet these. Oh, that kind of looks like a phthalo. And it says it's PB15:0. So yes, that's a phthalo. And this next one's an aqua blue, and it's a PB15:3. Oh, that is a little brighter. The next one is ultramarine PB29. I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with the blue pigments. Oh, that's kind of weak. That ultramarine is a little bit weak. And I am getting a feeling of, I don't know how to put it, kind of a gelatinous feel to them. Okay, this next one is phthalo blue, and it's PB15:0, which that lake blue is PB15:0. So, oh, this one's a little bit darker, more intense. More intense. Okay, the grass green is PY14 and PG7. Now there's a little bit of a cornstarchy feel to them, but that may go away once we start using them. So we'll just keep on here. These are my first impressions. Okay, so this next one is Verdant PY3 and PG7, light fastness of 8, semi-transparent. Okay, the next one is Emerald. Oh, PY14, PG7, PBK7, and so this has a black pigment in it. Ooh, I like that one. Light fastness of 8. Phthalo green, PG7. All these colors are what I would expect. I'm just unfamiliar with a couple of these pigments up here. This next one is Ochre. PY14, not familiar with that, because I would expect an ochre to be like a PB42, but that is pretty. That is a pretty ochre. This next one is reddish brown. PY14, not familiar with that. PR21, which is this one up here. and PBK7. Ooh, pretty. And the next one is just called brown, and it's PBR7. Oh, that's kind of nice. I don't know if that one is a little bit deeper than a burnt umber, maybe more like a Van Dyke brown. And here is black, PBK7. And that's supposed to be okay, opaque. Okay, now that is, I think they're pretty colors. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside, and I'll go over these pigments and what they are, and look them up online and see if I can find more information about it and tell you that at the end of the video. So I'm gonna try this paper. So I'm just going to swatch. Let's make a, let's see, a sunflower maybe. So let me take this brown. Go with what you know when you don't know what to paint. Or black-eyed Susan. Let's do a black-eyed Susan. So I'm going to make this kind of facing on the side. I don't know, it seems to be like cotton paper. It's kind of acting like cotton paper. All right, let me get some of this permanent yellow. I'll mix that up. Oh, I had a little bit of brown on my, let's get this golden yellow. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay. So let's go down. And go down. I like that color. It's called golden. And it says it's PY83, which we know what PY83 is. That's pretty. Okay, we'll let this dry. And then we'll come back and put another layer on it. That'll take a minute to dry. Maybe I'll put a couple of shapes on there. So, okay, we'll let this dry and we'll come back. Okay, so I'm back. I've done some research, which I will give you this information when we finish this test. I am going to finish this little Black-Eyed Susan. I'm going to take some green here. This is, let me look and see. I might have to look on my bigger. This one is grass green. And we're going to take that. And you know, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this pan, or this, is really not beaten up like most palettes do at first. And I like that. I like to see what my transparency is and what the color is. If the color's all beat up on your pan, just take some abrasive, a little bit of baking soda or a magic eraser is what I use, and just scuff up that surface and it will stay out like that. And that's much better for watercolor. Okay, so we're going to finish this. I'm going to add a little bit of red to this just to get a little bit more natural. And come down and make it a little bit more. Oh, what am I wanting to say? I'm just basically trying to see how the paper's going to work here. I'm going to take a little bit more of this grass green and get it a little bit more saturated so I can increase the value in a couple places. Let's get some more of that red. And that darkens that up really nice. Trying to get you, let me zoom out here. See if this paper is still going to accept this paint. That's a little bit, it's starting to dry. I didn't see where it said 100% cotton. There is a marking on here. It says not for children under 3. I'm not seeing any markings where that could be cotton paper. I do like to get a little bit of value. Scrape that off. Come down here. Alright, that's not super good right there, but I'm going to get some more of this golden yellow and mix it with a little bit of this ochre, which is a mix of this diarylide yellow and oh gosh, what did it say? Phthalo green and black. So most of these on here are a mix. And that may not bother you because your colors are convenient. Let's see how that looks. Not the best, but okay, let's do a flow test. Let's do a flow test and see. I'm going to tell you about these pigments here in a minute. So I'm going to just get some, let's just put some water down. And then pick up some of this phthalo blue. One is red shade. This is phthalo blue red shade. Not super flowy. Let me put some water down over here. And let's put this, where'd that swatch sheet go? Let's put this rhodamine violet. I don't think that's rhodamine. I don't know, but we're going to check it out. Yeah, maybe it is. That's pretty. It's a pretty color. And let's do this. I'm looking at this paper, and it seems to be absorbing, but it's leaving a funny texture behind. I don't know how to explain it. Let's do this mix I did. Not super flowy paints. And then let's do one of these purples, because this purple, this is dioxazine. It's PV23. So that's a pigment we know. Still not very flowy. Oh, a little bit. I would paint with these. Let's do a little mixing. Let's do, well, we did this green, which I thought was pretty green, but we could take it and put a little bit more red in it, and it would be a little bit more natural. And we could even take some of this yellow and make it more olive green. Which I kind of like. I like muted colors. You may not. Let's add a little bit of blue. This is 1, 2, this ultramarine right here. I like to get kind of like a dusty green shade, like a sagey color. That might be pretty. Oh yeah, mixes is to be expected. That's kind of a eucalyptus color. And to get that, I just took some of this grass green. I'm gonna really get in there and get some of that pigment. And then took a little bit of red to mute that down. This one is Strontium, nope, permanent red. This one's scarlet. Yes, this one's scarlet. And get a really nice earthy green. And get another piece of paper. Really nice earthy green here. I do love greens. And then to get that to turn a little bit sage, I take a little bit of ultramarine blue and mix that in. And that will turn it kind of a sage color. There we go. That's really pretty. This is kind of a eucalyptus color. They seem to be really vibrant paints. That would make a pretty eucalyptus plant. And then you could take some ultramarine and put it down in the That's pretty. These mix as expected. Paper's not bad. The paper's not bad, and they granulate really nicely. Eucalyptus is so nice because, you know, you can just put a leaf anywhere and it will work. Take some ultramarine, tap in there. Or you could take some more ultramarine and make this a little bit darker. Or even take some of your black and make it darker. And then tap it in there. I like using black to mix as well if you're mixing it with colors. That's really pretty. That's really pretty. I love doing eucalyptus plants. I love doing sage, and I love working with these muted colors. So what else could you do? So with this set, you could also add a white, and I don't think it would fit in there, but you could just set it there, and then you could take your white, and I believe this is Chinese white. It could be a little bit of gouache, and then you could mix it in and you could make opaque colors. Now I like opaque colors. They just, I don't know why I like opaque colors, but I do. And it's just a little bit different than your I don't know, maybe because they look kind of vintage. Maybe that's why I like them. Probably wait for these to dry before I would make my veining. But I like them both. I like them both. Now let me tell you about some of the pigments that you may want to consider before investing in this set. This is, I don't think it's a bad set, but I went and looked up some of these pigments that I was not familiar with, that I don't see every day. Now, PY3 is a Hansa yellow light, which is a common color. They call it lemon yellow here. Same thing. There are other pigments that are used for lemon yellow as well. I didn't document those. And PY14 is not something I see all the time, but it's diarrhea yellow. And so is PY83. And they have good light fastness. And this benzidine orange is PO13, and it has good light fastness. And this PR21 is not one I see frequently, but it says it has 8 light fastness. I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to do your own tests. The source I used was Artist Creation, I believe. Let me look. Artist Creation. And it has a list of pigments, and it has their reference, you know, whether it was Blick they went to look at, or other reference sources, they have those cited. So I felt like it was a pretty good source to look at. Now this magenta is litho rubine, and it said on there, it says it's used for cosmetic and in children's art materials. And it says it's a light fastness of 7, but I wouldn't count on that. So also litho, or this PR63:1 is litho Bordeaux, and it says it's not rated by the ASTM or the Blue Wool scale. So, you would have to do your own test to see. And this rhodamine violet for quinacridone violet is PV1, and it says it's fugitive. And it has a 6 on here, which they say it's light fast. Same thing with the dioxazine. Now, it says it's light fast, and we pretty much know that's a common pigment, PV23. But this fluorescent and this dioxazine are what makes up this violet. So we know phthalos are light fast, ultramarine's light fast. This PY14 is a mixture of phthalo green and this diarylide yellow, and this this verdant is PY3 and PG7, which is a phthalo green and a Hansa yellow light. So also this emerald green is PY14 diarylide, PG7, and black. Phthalo green, PG7, and this ochre, usually you see PY42 or PY43, and this is PY14, which is this one, diarylide, and PG7, phthalo green, and PBK8. So a lot of mixtures on here. And the reddish brown, usually you see like burnt sienna. I can't think off the top of my head. I think it's a PBR7. Is a mix of PY14, PR21, and PBK7. Now the brown is PBR7, which we know. So, take this. I think they work fine. I'm not seeing any bronzing. This paper was fairly absorbent, but, I don't know. For some reason, nothing works like arches. Nothing does. So I think it might be cotton paper because there was no backruns, no cauliflowering. I think it's fine to make cards with. Here's the sunflower I did, and here's the swatching I did. Now I did put a little bit too much water on these swatches, and matter of fact, it's still not dry. So I think they would be fine to use. I didn't see any warnings except for one that might be toxic. Let me find out which one that is. Okay, the one that said that was toxic and prohibited from using in textiles or cosmetics was the rhodamine violet. And it was also fugitive. Now, usually when you see quinacridone or red or something like that, it's PV19. But this is a fluorescent. It shouldn't harm you by painting with it. And, as long as you don't drink your water. And it says it's virtually harmless, even if ingested. But, just for your own protection, and for your own peace of mind, you can choose to leave that out and substitute another one with it. But really, my first impressions of these paints, they're vibrant. I don't know if I'd give this to children because of the pigments in them, because children tend to dig in paint and put their hands in their mouth. So I don't know that I would, but you know, you could use it, have fun, and use your colors, and you could use it for scanned art or for your sketchbook. You know, I'm going to do a little something in my sketchbook here, and I think I will use this red and maybe mute it down with some green. That makes a brown. Let me put a little bit more red in there. You know, that's pretty. I'm just going to make some sketching doodles here. It acts fine in the sketchbook. This is an Arteza sketchbook. Let's do see if we can make a, let's use this quinacridone, or this phthalo blue green shade. Sorry, I'm losing my words. And make like a turquoise. I had a little bit of green and yellow there. This makes a really pretty turquoise. Let me also add some white. I love using white. And that mutes it down. That's pretty, isn't it? I like these vintage colors. Love these vintage colors. Okay, what could I do next? Let's make like a stone blue. So let's use the phthalo blue red shade. We want some good saturation here. And I don't want granulation, so that's why I am not using. Let me use some of this phthalo blue. That's real intense. So there's 2 phthalos on here. One, this phthalo blue red shade was a little bit less intense than this phthalo blue. So I'm picking that phthalo blue up. I'm going to take it and I'm going to mute it down. I'm going to take some of this orange. What's this? Benzo orange, because it's the complement. And I'm just going to mute it down a little bit. Oh, that's a pretty navy. All right. So I'm going to take some white. It mixes as expected. Ooh, isn't that pretty? That's like a smoky blue. Come over here. And you could take it down a little bit more if you wanted to. And put some more red, white in there. Take it to like a gray blue. I like that even better. Really pretty. Really pretty. Okay, so got a red here. Let's do an orange. And let's do an orange muted down with a little bit of blue. And we'll keep it cohesive, and we'll use this phthalo, but we'll just use a little bit. These are nice bright colors. These would be nice just for sketchbook use. And I'm going to take a little bit of this phthalo blue. You can always add more. Oh yeah, that's pretty. That turns it into like a rusty orange. That's pretty. Okay, so let's put some white in there. Really pretty. Really, really pretty. Yeah, I like these. I would use these. I think they're fun. So, and then you could go back, after these dry, you could go back and put doodles in your swatches and, you know, put whatever you want. I could maybe put a green there. Maybe put this grass green. Let's try one that we didn't use. Let's use this emerald green. Oh, that's verdant. Let's use this emerald green, which is a little bit darker. Emerald green. And I'm not going to mute that or add any other colors with it. It already is a mix, but I am going to add white. And I just squeeze out some gouache or titanium white watercolor. I tend to use white watercolor for mixing rather than gouache because I don't want the gouache to crack. It does tend to crack. That's a pretty green. Let's see. Now my water is getting a little mucky. Keep in mind that we do have mixes here. So that increases your chance of making mud. So, or more natural colors. I call them natural. I'm going to take this red and put it in there. And then I'm also going to grab a little bit of this phthalo, just to give it a sagey. That's pretty. And I'm using the same colors that I used in all these others. Pretty, pretty. Make your own mid-century color palette here. So this would be a good color palette to do a landscape. You know, you could do blue sky, green grass, you could mix these blues, and you could even make you you could either use this ochre, I love opaque watercolors. And then let's mix some white in with that. Oh yeah. Let's mute that down just a little bit more, but there's a pretty yellow. Let's mute that down. Let's add a little bit of this blue and mute that down without it getting too green. It got a little green on me. I should probably, you know, but I like it. We could add a little bit more yellow to bring the saturation up. I just like mixing this way. So let me know what you think. Let's try mixing this, making a purple with these colors I've got here. Let's use this. and take it over here and put it here. Oh, wow. 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 That's gorgeous. So if you stay with the same colors, I love these colors. These are mixing well. I really like this palette. The only thing I think it's lacking is a white. So let me know what you think. You know, does it make a difference to you if these are kind of wonky pigments that we're not used to? Or would you use it? I mean, I'm getting some lovely mixes here. And I think they're gorgeous. And I would use them. But, you know, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this kind of content, hit like and subscribe. And I will see you later. Bye.